Do you really know the truth about Mel's Hole? On a quiet stretch of land at Manastash Ridge, west of Ellensburg, Washington, something bizarre was discovered. This land belonged to a man named Mel Waters, and it held a secret that would soon capture the imagination of people all over the world. On Mel's property sat a strange abyss. It appeared like a large well, a pit of sorts, but it wasn't an ordinary hole. Mel and his neighbors had been dumping trash into it for years. From regular garbage to old appliances and broken furniture, everything disappeared into this hole. The strange part, it never filled up. No matter how much they dumped inside, the hole remained exactly the same. That alone sparked Mel's curiosity, but the oddities didn't stop there. Animals avoided the area, and whenever Mel brought a radio nearby, it started acting up. Signals jumped erratically, and static noises filled the air. It became clear that there was more to this pit than met the eye. In 2017, a brave team of researchers decided to explore the mysterious hole. Armed with a camera, they lowered it deep into the abyss, hoping to uncover the truth. But what they discovered shocked them. Whatever they saw inside prompted an immediate retreat. Something terrifying awaited in that darkness. What was it that scared them so badly? Mel Waters first stumbled upon this hole while exploring his own land. To him, it looked like a well, but it wasn't connected to any water source. For years, the pit had been used as a trash dump by the local residents. Old tires, broken machinery, kitchen waste, you name it, it all went in. Yet it never made a sound, no echoes, no crashing, just endless silence. Mel couldn't ignore it anymore. He started asking around and learned that the hole had been there long before he arrived. Everyone he spoke to confirmed they'd been using it for years, but no one could explain why it never filled or why no noise came from within. Mel decided to take things into his own hands. Being a passionate fisherman, he had spools of fishing line readily available, so he attached a 1-pound weight to a line and began lowering it into the pit. To his astonishment, the line went down further and further until it hit 4,500 feet. Still, no bottom. And when he pulled the weight back up, it was completely dry, meaning there was no water down there either. Mel tried again, this time with a roll of Lifesavers candies, hoping they'd dissolve if they encountered moisture. But when he reeled it back up again, at the full depth of the line, they were still dry and intact. So Mel extended the line even further. He tied together more spools, lowering it to 10,000 feet, then 20,000 eventually. Mel claimed to have deployed up to 80,000 feet of fishing line, over 15 miles deep, and still, he found no bottom. But the deeper he looked, the stranger it all became. Despite deploying over 80,000 feet of fishing line, Mel never found the bottom of the hole, but his quest for answers revealed something even more disturbing. Every time he approached the hole, his dogs refused to come near it. They would dig in their feet and growl in discomfort. Even if Mel tried to pull them closer, they resisted. With unusual fear, it was as if they could sense a force, something unseen radiating from the pit. He also noticed a curious absence of wildlife around the hole. No squirrels, no insects, just a few birds circling overhead. The area around the hole was eerily silent, void of the usual buzz of nature. Mel found this deeply unsettling. When he asked his neighbors if their pets reacted the same way, they all confirmed it. Every dog avoided the hole. It was clear that animals could feel something. Humans COULDN, single quotes, T. Then came the most disturbing story yet. While discussing the strange behavior of their pets, one neighbor shared a chilling account. Not long before their conversation, his dog had passed away. Like most things they wanted to get rid of, he decided to dispose of the dog's body by tossing it into the hole. He didn't think much of it at the time, but a few days later, while walking near the wooded part of his property, he saw something that made his blood run cold. A dog was running through the trees, and it looked exactly like the one he had just lost. At first, he thought it was just a look-alike. But when he saw the familiar collar around its neck, he realized it was his dog. It was alive, or something that looked just like it was alive. He tried calling to the dog. It didn't respond. It didn't even acknowledge his voice. The neighbor said it was like the dog had no memory of him at all. It was just moving, unaware of its past life or its owner. Could it have come back from the dead? Or was this some creature from another dimension? This strange event sparked a wave of speculation and fear. Theories began to swirl: cloning, dimensional rifts, paranormal gateways, but no one had solid answers, just strange sightings and silence. With so many unanswered questions, Mel knew he couldn't keep this to himself. He needed help, someone who could guide him, or at least listen. It was 1997, and there was one platform known for tackling the strange and unexplained: the late-night radio show Coast to Coast AM with Art Bell. Art Bell's program, broadcast from the high deserts of the American Southwest, reached millions of listeners around the world. If there was one person who could bring attention to Mel's story, it was him. On February 21, 1997, Mel decided to reach out. He sent Art a message, explaining everything from the countless feet of fishing line to the odd silence that followed after dropping a refrigerator into the hole. His message was detailed and full of raw curiosity and concern. Art Bell responded quickly. Soon after, Mel was invited to appear on the show. During the broadcast, Mel shared his experiences in full detail. It wasn't long before the story of Mel's Hole became a sensation. The phones lit up. People wanted to know more. Mel's appearance sparked worldwide interest. Listeners from all walks of life, scientists, conspiracy theorists, curious civilians, began offering suggestions and theories. Some recommended using a laser to measure the hole's depth. Others suggested ground-penetrating radar or satellite map, and Mel was overwhelmed by the attention, but also encouraged. For the first time, he felt he wasn't alone, but with exposure came consequences. Mel had mentioned some rough details about the hole's location during the broadcast, just enough to draw attention, and that was enough for everything to change. The day after the show aired, Mel returned to his property, only to find it blocked off, not by curious citizens, not by trespassers, but by the U.S. military. Mel was stunned. When he tried to enter his own land, he was stopped at a roadblock manned by armed military personnel. There were trucks, equipment, and signs of heavy machinery already moving in. Mel asked what was going on. He was told there had been a plane crash on the property, but Mel knew that wasn't true. There had been no smoke, no fire, no reports from nearby residents, no noise. It felt like a cover story. He pressed further, but the answers only got more suspicious. A man in civilian clothes finally approached him. The man told Mel that his land might not even belong to him anymore. He added a quiet but chilling threat. If Mel didn't cooperate, they could easily find a drug lab on the property. That would be enough to ruin him. Mel was furious. He warned that he would go to the press and tell everyone. But the man wasn't worried. He said flatly that no one would believe Mel's story anyway. What the man didn't realize was that millions of listeners already had. Soon after, Mel received a call from Art Bell, who wanted an update. Mel shared the disturbing news, the military's presence, the blocked access, and the strange threats. But then he revealed something new. One of his neighbors had reported seeing a dark beam shooting straight up from the hole and piercing the clouds. Mel didn't see it himself, but it terrified the people who did. As listeners called into the show, theories exploded. Some believed this area of Washington was a hotspot for UFO activity. Others claimed it was the site of paranormal events, disappearances, and energy portals. Several callers suggested the hole lay on a ley line, possibly making it a gateway to another dimension or even time itself. According to them, everything thrown into the hole didn't just vanish. It was transported elsewhere, a different reality, another world, or the hollow earth, as some believed. But no one could prove anything. Art Bell himself tried to visit the site but couldn't get past the barriers. Even the locals were tired. Still, he managed to learn something interesting. An elderly resident said that, long ago, there had been stone columns surrounding the hole. What did they mean? It was unclear. Just another detail lost to time, or something ancient and sacred now forgotten. Mel's sudden fame brought both allies and enemies. Some people praised him for bringing the mystery to light. Others warned him to stop talking. They feared the government was listening. And they were right, because by the time Mel returned home, the government had already moved in. He promised Art Bell and his audience that he would return to the show with updates. But when the day came for his next appearance, Mel didn't show up. No calls, no explanation, not even a message. Worried, the show's crew tried contacting him. When that failed, they took a trip to Ellensburg to find out what had happened. But when they arrived, the entire situation had changed. There was no hole. The place where Mel said it was had been completely covered or hidden. What they found instead were blueprints, government intel, and clear evidence of military activity in the area. Something or someone had erased the hole from the public eye. 3 years passed. Then, out of nowhere, Mel reappeared with new information. He claimed that not long after the events, he was offered a deal by the government. He would be paid $3 million a year to lease out his land. But under one strict condition, he had to sign a non-disclosure agreement. He would have to pack up and leave the United States for good. Mel agreed. He left everything behind: his land, his wife, his children, and moved to Australia. It was supposed to be permanent. But eventually, the weight of separation from his family became too much. 2 years later, Mel secretly returned to the US. Despite warnings, he reached out to Art Bell again, saying he had even more to share. Art scheduled him for another appearance, but once again Mel didn't show up. According to Mel, what happened next was beyond explanation. On the day he was supposed to appear on air again, he was traveling to visit his nephew. While on a bus, an altercation broke out involving some other passengers. The police were called, and everyone was questioned before being moved to a different bus. Mel boarded the second bus. Then everything went black. The next thing he remembered was waking up in a dark alley in San Francisco. His wallet and keys were gone. His mouth tasted of blood. His body ached. It had been 12 days since he lost consciousness. Even stranger, he discovered signs that medical procedures had been done on him. His arms showed needle marks, like those from an IV. Tape residue was still visible, and when he looked inside his mouth, he realized his back teeth were missing. What had happened during those 12 missing days? Who had taken him, and why? Mel's return to the U.S. triggered a downward spiral. Shortly after regaining consciousness, he found himself entangled in bizarre legal trouble. He was accused of illegal construction, tampering with power lines, faulty septic systems, and unapproved roadwork, but none of it made sense. Mel hadn't been in the country for years. The land had been under government control the entire time, and yet, he was being held responsible then. Just 2 days after he had told Art Bell he would go public again, Mel discovered that his bank account had been drained. All the money he had been promised was gone. It was as if someone was systematically erasing his life, punishing him for speaking out. And yet, despite everything, the public still heard his story. Art Bell had already broadcast the tale of Mels Hole far and wide. The mystery could no longer be silenced. As Mel's tale became more well-known, the public began to split into two camps. Some people truly believed him. They admired his bravery, and they saw him as a man who had risked everything to reveal the truth. To them, Mel wasn't just some recluse with a story, he was a whistleblower exposing something extraordinary. Others were skeptical. They questioned the lack of hard evidence, and believed Mel might have stumbled upon a restricted or blacked-out military site. Some even argued that Mel had simply heard about a location on a map like the ones found on the Terra server, a pre-Google Earth mapping site, and invented a story around it. But here's the twist. The Terra server didn't exist until 6 months after Mel's first broadcast. So if Mel made the story up based on something he saw there, it would have been impossible for him to do it before the satellite imagery site was even online. That little fact kept believers clinging to the idea that Mel was telling the truth. Just when things couldn't get stranger, Mel was contacted by a Native American tribe. They asked him to travel to Nevada. There, they wanted his help with something eerily similar, second bottomless hole that had long been part of their tribal lore. The group involved included native elders, locals, and even members of a unique ethnic group called the Basque. Originally from the region between France and Spain, Mel went to Nevada to investigate. The second hole wasn't on tribal land. It was located on public land, traditionally used for sheep herding by the Basque community. And while it shared similarities with the original hole, it was also very different. This one was lined with metal, mysterious metallic collar that extended far down into the darkness, and it radiated heat. Warmth seemed to seep up from the depths of this hole, unlike anything Mel had felt before. But the strangest part, when Mel accidentally dropped a tool on the metal lining, it made no sound, no clink, no echo, not even the faintest vibration. It was as if the metal swallowed all noise. While in Nevada, Mel learned that the tribe and local herders had used the second hole for generations. Like Mel's first hole, it never seemed to fill. But what truly set this hole apart was the bizarre experiments that followed. One day, the tribal members and Mel decided to test the hole using a sheep. They selected a healthy animal, secured it inside a large crate, and lowered it down into the shaft using a winch and thick cable. Their intention wasn't to harm the creature, it was just a way to observe how the hole reacted to living matter. As the sheep descended, it began to scream. Its cries echoed back up with a terrible intensity. But the deeper it went, the more the sound changed until it stopped entirely. They left it down there for a short while, then pulled the crate back up. What they found horrified them. The sheep was dead, but not in any normal way. Its body showed no signs of injury, trauma, or illness. But its fur was soaked with moisture, and when they examined it more closely, they discovered that the water was warm as if it had been submerged in something deep and heated. But that wasn't the worst part. An unnatural growth had formed inside the sheep's body. Using rudimentary tools, they opened the animal and found something impossible. A living, moving mass, something that had never been there before. It writhed, it pulsed, it was alive, but not like any animal, parasite, or organism they had ever seen. It seemed to react to light and motion, as if it had consciousness or even awareness. The tribal elders believed the creature was not of this earth. Some speculated the hole might not be just a bottomless pit but a passageway, a delivery system, or even a womb for something ancient and intelligent. The creature was later released into the wild on tribal land. According to Mel, it moved with difficulty but managed to disappear into the forest. No one ever saw it again. After the sheep experiment, things changed. The tribal elders, who had previously been open to exploring the hole's secrets, became fearful. They believed they had disturbed something that should have remained untouched. One elder claimed the creature they found was a spirit being, a guardian or messenger from a different plane. He warned that tampering with the hole could bring disaster, not just for the tribe, but for the entire world. The land around the hole began to feel ... Different animals avoided it more than ever. The air felt heavier. Some people claimed to have strange dreams, visions of fire, chasms, and a darkness reaching up from the earth. Mel, already shaken by his past experiences, agreed it was time to stop. He left Nevada, never to return. Mel Waters faded from the public eye once again. After his last call to Art Bell, he was never heard from directly again. No interviews, no updates, no confirmations. Some believe he went into hiding. Others think he was silenced. There are even rumors he was never real at all, just a fabrication created to stir fear and curiosity. But for those who believe, Mels Hole remains one of the most enduring mysteries ever broadcast over radio. The government's involvement, the sheep experiment. The living entity, the missing time, the second hole in Nevada. And the question that started it all, where does it end? If Mels Hole truly exists, it defies every law of physics, biology, and reality we know. It isn't just a bottomless pit, it might be a window into something else, something watching, waiting, and perhaps, one day, returning.